Wonderful to be here this morning, wonderful to be with such talented musicians and with a congregation with such an obviously good heart. Thank you for having me. A couple of years ago, I was asked a question that has rattled around in my brain and my heart ever since. Have you ever had that experience when someone turns to you and asks you a question that just seems to cut right to the chase of the matter? A question that kind of puts a new frame around everything for you. Have you had that moment? It happened to me not long ago when a friend and a colleague turned to me and said, "Julia, who would you be if you were fearless? Who would you be if you were fearless?" It's a breathtaking challenge, isn't it? How would you live your life if you were not held back by fear? I've been mulling over this question ever since. Now, I don't normally think of myself as a particularly fearful person. I don't feel fearful on most days. I don't spend a lot of time imagining worst-case scenarios or playing out unlikely catastrophes. I'm usually a glasses-half-full kind of person, although that abiding sense of optimism has certainly been put to the test these days. But the longer that I sat with this question, the more I realized that optimism on its own is no safeguard against fear. I can be confident that things will turn out all right in the end and still be terrified of the path we might have to take before getting to the things being all right at the end. I still wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with my mind beset by worries and what-ifs. I still find myself retreating too often into cautious optimism rather than bold action. I think Unitarian Universalists have a particular skill for cautious optimism. And that's not a bad thing to be cautiously optimistic, but our times are calling for more than that from us. So now, in any given situation, I've decided to ask myself, what would the fearless Julia do here? I carry this question around like a secret mission that I've given myself to discover who I would be if I were fearless. And so on the outside, there's the regular me, the everyday me, who wonders if the leftover pasta in the fridge has turned too bad to eat for dinner. The regular me who gets frustrated when I miss an important email. The regular me who gets overwhelmed by the news and the heartbreak of living in this complicated world. The me who spends too much time daydreaming about Costa Rica, way out where there's no email. And then inside, there's the fearless me. The fearless me I'm cultivating underneath the everyday me. The me who wastes no time, who walks confidently into every situation, who moves with purpose and is ready for everything. The me who will not live in fear of falling or catching fire, as the poet said. I've come to think of this me as the secret agent I carry around inside of me. Why a secret agent? Well, they're fearless, right? And they're cool. They never find themselves in a tight spot they can't get out of. They're quick thinking, they're creative, they're focused. They've got people on the inside, right? Contacts who are always ready to help, and they move through life with a mission. And of course, they always have great outfits. Somehow, secret agents are always getting invited into places where they can wear evening gowns and tuxedos, and I don't get to wear my formal attire often enough. Being one of those cinematic secret agents is appealing on so many levels, right? That's why the James Bond franchise has lived on for so long. Being a secret agent seems like it would fulfill so many of our deep human longings. It means being a part of something larger than yourself, having a sense of purpose and direction. It means living fully awake, fully aware, ready to act at all times. I think this is one of the aspects of secret agenthood that is most appealing to me, that constant awareness, that full awakeness, that in-the-moment aspect of it. A secret agent, when they walk into the room at the casino, they notice the waiter who stops to tie his shoe. They spot that hidden doorway over there behind the plants. They are observant and alert, and nothing escapes their notice. And of course, they always find time for witty banter. And in many ways, being a secret agent seems like some of the same things we aspire to do here in our Unitarian Universalist communities. We're here because we want to feel part of something larger than ourselves. We want to be part of something important. We're here to cultivate lives of purpose. We're here to learn how to stay aware, how to stay awake, to be mindful of all that is going on around us and in the larger world. And we also like a good bit of witty banter. Maybe not so much the formal attire. But as a fearless secret agent, I would always want to use my skills for the betterment of humanity, of course, not in service to a shadowy government organization. This is where James Bond and I part ways. Because just having a purpose, just having a mission, that's not enough. It matters what you are an agent in service to. It matters what the mission is. After all, secret agents are willing to put their lives on the line for their mission. If we were all fearless secret agents, what would be a mission worthy of our very lives? Thinking about this liberal religious congregation, about the principles of Unitarian Universalism, thinking about the state of the world and the work we have cut out for us, I think that our mission is nothing less than liberation. Not just individually, not just you and me and you and you, not just one at a time, personal liberation, but the collective liberation of all of us. A commitment to collective liberation is a commitment to the flourishing of all humanity, to the beautiful unfolding of the world. It means seeking a release from the systems that keep us isolated from one another, a release from the constraints that keep us from living to our full potential. Collective liberation means freedom of the spirit, freedom of the mind and heart and body of each of us, and of the whole of us. I believe that this is what Unitarian Universalism is calling us toward. It is our universalism calling us, the all or none of us understanding that we are all saved together. And it is the Unitarian side of who we are, the concept that we are bound up in one unified existence, and that we are all, each of us, responsible for doing our own spiritual work. Grounded in mutual respect and deep, abiding love, we can transform the world and get free together. That is the vision, that is the mission of collective liberation. You may be familiar with this quote that emerged from an Aboriginal activist organizing group in Australia in the 1970s. "If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." We can be fearless, not so secret agents of collective liberation. That sounds pretty good. But what does it look like? Let's get practical here. Doesn't a secret agent always get a nice thick folder with the details of their mission? Where's my dossier? Where's my secret decoder ring and cool agent gadgets? What exactly are you talking about? Well, to help get us started, I've created a little experiment to see what it might be like to have a mission underneath your daily life, a purpose that exists right alongside all of the groceries and laundry and dinner parties. And so this morning you've been given a card in your order of service. And if you don't have a card this morning, just raise your hand and one of the ushers will bring you one. You have a little card. So there's a couple people over here who might need them. And there are 10 different cards, so you might have a different card from the person next to you. And each card has a particular assignment on it, a particular mission, should you choose to accept it. So take a moment and look at your card. Maybe it asks you to be an agent of joy, or perhaps an agent of compassion. Maybe it asks you to be an agent of justice or generosity. And you don't have to keep your assignment a secret, although of course you can if you want to. And if you want to trade cards with someone next to you, that's fine too. And so what I'm asking you to do is take this card and all through this next week, or maybe all through this holiday season that we're heading into if you're feeling ambitious, I'm inviting you to treat this assignment as if it were your mission, your subtext for your life. That work that exists alongside and underneath and all around the day-to-day activities that make up your living. What would a fearless agent of compassion do standing in line at Starbucks? How would a fearless agent of joy approach Thanksgiving dinner, especially if they were sitting next to the family member most likely to be wearing a Make America Great Again hat? Right? What would a fearless agent of creativity do in response to heartbreaking news? That news that we get every day from around the world. I have this real-world model in my head of one of these fearless agents in the world, someone who responded with creativity to this global crisis. In particular, it was in 2015, there was a woman from Glendale, California, who was following the news about the Syrian refugee crisis. And she saw these pictures of Syrian families coming in on overcrowded rubber rafts, arriving on the beach with nothing but bags they could carry, if that. And she saw in particular videos of parents holding and trying to comfort an infant or a squirmy toddler while at the same time trying to hold on to a bag of everything they owned and knowing that they were carrying for hours and miles and standing in line. And as a parent, she knew what that felt like and she wanted to help. And so she thought of the child carrier, the infant carrier she had in her own garage gathering dust. And she thought, well, how could I get that infant carrier? It would be such a help to have one of those carriers if I was trying to move through the world with a small child. So how could I get this carrier to the refugees? And she started talking with her friends and family, and she set herself a goal of collecting 100 carriers and sending them to a particular island in Greece where she knew there were lots of refugees arriving. And the response was so overwhelmingly supportive that she ended up with hundreds of carriers. And she ended up traveling to that island herself to deliver them personally. And in doing that, she realized that what the families needed was not just the practical help of the carrier, which was a tremendous help, but a knowledge that they were seen, that they weren't alone in their struggle, and that far around the other side of the globe there was a family who saw their family and understood what it meant and reached out and helped. And that became her mission, and now 2 years later she has sent nearly 15,000 donated baby carriers after starting a nonprofit called Carry the Future. And she's mobilized over 5,000 volunteers internationally. This woman was a fearless agent of creativity in the face of an overwhelming international crisis. She could easily have thrown up her hands and said, well, there is nothing I can do. Instead, she found a mission and she took action. Now, we don't all have to start a nonprofit. But becoming an agent for collective liberation, it's not just about the doing, it's also about the being, about the believing that yes, you can. You can be an agent of joy in this world. You can be an agent of kindness. It's not just about believing in the mission, it's about believing in yourself and your capacity to do the mission. And this takes practice. If there's anything else I've learned from spy movies, it's that secret agents are always training, right? There's that montage sequence in every movie, the training sequence. They train their bodies and hearts and minds. They practice with sparring partners. So when they're out in the world, they can rely on their reflexes. We not-so-secret agents, we have to train too. Our reflexes so often come from that place of fear, from that fight or flight, and it takes work to overcome those ingrained habits. So take that mission that you've got on your card and practice with it. Meditate with it, sit with it, internalize it, pray over it until it becomes a reflexive response, right? Can you imagine generosity that comes as instinctually to you as a duck and roll comes to James Bond? Can you imagine reflexive joy rather than fear? And right here in this room, each week you've got a group of people you can train with. Each week you can come back to headquarters to brush up on the skills that you need. So I ask you, will you accept this mission? Will you become an agent of love and liberation in this world? Will you work on the liberation of your own heart and soul, knowing that your freedom is bound up with mine, and that no one is free until all of us are free? And each and every day we have the choice to become more and more the people who we want to be. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.